Hey, you're listening to the Coffee O'Clock podcast, the show that brings you joy and inspiration, with special guests from all around the world who have an amazing story and expertise to evolve your personal and professional life. I am your host, Burcu Onaranel, the founder of Joy Marketing and Coaching. Make sure you grab your coffee and get ready to explore new ideas. Let's get started. Hello, Coffee O'Clock people. I am here with my guest from Canada, Aaron Soley. He is the founder of Engage Coaching Group, best-selling author, and mental wellness coach. Welcome, Aaron. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I am happy and excited to get to know you, your story, and most importantly, share how you're helping, especially men, from being in a stuck mindset to take them to the thriving one, actually help them to achieve what they want to do in their life. So welcome to be here. Can you tell us more about you? I introduced you in a very nutshell, but who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So, mental wellness coach, and I like you mentioned, I help. I've been helping a lot of men that have been feeling stuck, and really, it's men that have gone through similar challenges that I have. So I, for many years, dealt with depression, anxiety, and a lot of it had to do with I didn't know how to handle those negative thoughts that were in my head. I didn't know how to handle the lack of confidence that I was experiencing as I was as becoming an adult, and then we're going into the workforce. And quite honestly, I didn't know how to not people please. I was, I thought the strategy was to just, if I can make other people happy, if I can make my boss happy, my partners happy, my family happy, then everything would be good. But that strategy did not work, and it actually put me more into depression and anxiety than anything. And that's why I've been able to work through that, and that's why I'm passionate about helping other men that may be going through a similar thing.
Yes, and it is so common and complicated issue in these days, especially for men. That's why I very honor what you do, because men are raised to stay strong and figure everything out, be the man, be the boss, be the family, leader. But when it comes to challenges and some hard times, that we are human, we all go through so many crap in our lives. So men do too. And the thing is that they don't know, or they don't tend to ask for help and reach to someone who can help them and be vulnerable. So that's why what you do is so important. And men out there, I want to scream at you, please put yourself in everyone's shoes. Like, you are human, and if you struggle with something, ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. I think that's what we need to learn as humans, right?
It's so important. It's so important. And back in the 90s, when I was really going through, like starting to go through this a lot of anxiety and I wasn't diagnosed with depression at the time, but looking back, I was going through these cycle periods where I would just be in this dark cloud and feel like I had no help, and everything was a struggle. And when I did ask for help back then, eventually it was more in secret, because back then you didn't talk about mental health. Like the one thing that's great is that there's a lot more conversations happening. There's a lot more. It's more known as to where to get help. But back then, I was seeing a psychologist in secret. No one knew I was doing it, uh, but but I knew I needed to get some help around that. And but yet the challenge that I experienced with that is I saw a counselor or I guess it was a psychologist at a mental health hospital, and within the first two sessions, he said, "Oh, you should come to a group and talk, and learn." Because I was dealing with self-esteem challenges, and it took me so much courage just to go and see that one person and talk to them one on one. that the anxiety just shot up with now he's asking me to go to talk about my challenges with a whole bunch of other people. And uh and so when I was going through that, it was, it brought up even more challenges. And uh and and I got lots out of it, but I didn't get as much as I thought I would, because I was so ingrained with all this stress and anxiety, and not knowing how to recognize that when I was asking for help and I had all these other people around me, that it was it was supportive, right? It was actually there to help me versus create more undue stress that wasn't necessary.
Now I have
Yeah,
the key question for you. I think
yeah.
most of our audience are curious about it when they are listen to this or watch this. How did you make the decision to ask for help? Because you explained you were in dark clothes and you struggle. And how did you make that mental shift?
You know, I think about other times, like there's various times where I would not ask for help, and I would be depressed, and I would spend 6 months just sitting in my own anxiety and worries, like just these constant worrying thoughts that would just be overcoming me. And it would just take it would take a moment where, and especially back when I was 37 and I was actually going through my a marriage breakdown, my first marriage.
Mhm.
I had this epiphany because I was in this dark basement that we owned at the time, and every night I was down at my computer just trying to search for how come this is happening to me. Why is this happening to me? What's wrong with me? I was trying to get these answers to these questions. And there's a pivotal moment where I realized I was asking myself the wrong question. I
Yes.
needed to stop asking, why is this happening to me?
Mhm.
And I did a lot of journaling over the years. That's one thing that consistently I did. I journal out all these negative thoughts just to kind of get them out. And usually when I journaled them, then I realized that it was, okay, this isn't true. Like this stuff that's going on in my head, it's not actually true. And once I see it on paper, it's like, well, how come I'm being so negative toward myself, or why am I assuming that other people are thinking about me this way? But that moment in that basement, that dark basement that I was spending a lot of the nights in trying to find answers to why I was this way. There's a shift where I realized the question I need to ask myself was, what is this for?
Mhm.
What is the gift in this? There's got to be some gift in this. Can I, even if it's just 1% of me, can I just embrace 100% of that 1%, that there's a gift here? And how can I find that gift?
I like that. So you started asking a better question.
Yeah. Start getting curious. And
Mhm.
versus being so hard on myself that there's something wrong with me, I just
Mhm.
realized that I got to approach this differently, because that voice in my head is not telling me the truth. It's been lying to me for too long.
So journaling helped you. What else
Hmm.
did you do?
Therapy. So I did, over the years, I've seen a variety of different therapists that recommended for my doctor. And then I started off seeing psychologists that were cognitive behavior psychologists.
Mhm.
And I thought that was the way. I thought that was the way to get help. And that was the methodology, or the modality to get help. And then
Mhm.
when I was going through my marriage separation, I started to realize, like, my perspective opened up, that there's all these different modalities out there, and maybe I needed to find a therapist that understood me
Mhm.
and my situation. And I ended up finding one that really understood what I was going through. And it was interesting because over the years, with my depression and that, we was focused, other therapists and that were just focused on the thoughts I was having and trying to shift those thoughts. Where this one therapist, she said to me, he said, Aaron, okay, so what is depression for you? And I said, well, it's this dark gray cloud that just hangs over me. Everything seems bleak. Everything seems impossible. Getting up in the morning to get to work is like a huge struggle. Making my breakfast, making a meal is absolutely daunting. And to even think about going out and socializing with people. It's just, I'll do it, but there's inside of me, there's this anxiety.
Mm.
Like my depression never stopped me from going to work, but it caused this anxiety and stress inside of me that while I was at work, I was putting on this mask, and not letting anybody know what was happening. But
Mhm.
I gave this definition to this counselor that I had been seeing. Totally, that's your experience of depression. I totally agree. There's completely valid. But she said there's another way to look at depression. And she said depression is anger turned inward. And a huge light bulb went off for me when I heard that, because I realized that
Yeah.
because of this people pleasing side of me, because I was um, more connected to my mom, and I kind of, I know there's that term "mama's boy" in that, but I just had I didn't feel like I was the stereotypical guy. I was because I thought being angry was a bad thing, and it was not. It's not good to be angry. So I just suppressed it for so long, and that just opened my eyes and my heart to, like, okay, there's something going on here around anger that I need to work on. I'm absolutely terrified to even look at it and what's going to happen. But looking at my anger uh, actually made me realize that there's all this sadness underneath it, because anger is it's a surface emotion, and I was scared that if I got into anger, it would just never go away. I would always be angry, but it's not
Mm.
true. Like, your emotions flow and they change, and stepping into anger in a safe way actually open up all this sadness, this the sadness that I had, especially for the loss of my grandfather at 10 years old, that I didn't fully grieve. And
Mm.
yeah, so that perspective of depression just it changed everything for me to help me heal. Yeah.
Yes, that's the key word, perspective on
Mm,
how we see things. And what you explained, you were asking wrong questions, and then you were defining something which wasn't truly true in
mm,
reality. So being aware of what we feel and what we think of ourselves or our reality can really define our life, our reality. So that's a great example, and thank you for sharing your
mhm.
journey on that. And I am sure a lot of awareness and the light bulbs, aha moments happened in your journey. So how are you now helping, especially men, to overcome their stuck feelings? Because I know therapy is very important, but not everybody either needs therapy or able to get therapy. So there is like an alternative way of shifting our thoughts, shifting our reality. So I think that's mostly what you do in the mindset, but I'm curious. I want you to tell us a little bit of how you work with people.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's mindset, is where I focus on. When I talk about being a mental wellness coach, it's really looking at the mental side of things. I had a basketball coach in high school, and when
Mm-hmm.
we were practicing basketball, he'd walk around us. We'd be doing stretching in the center of the gym, and he'd walk around and he'd say, 80% of the game is between your ears. And he'd just walk around, he'd repeat that statement as we're stretching and preparing for our practice. And then we'd finish our stretches. We're all warmed up, and then we'd be off doing running drills, defense drills, all the different plays, dribbling, passing, all the physical aspects of the game. He never explained what 80% of the game between your ears meant. And it's a it may seem obvious
Mm-hmm.
uh, when you hear that, but as a high school student, I thought I had to run faster, jump higher, get back on defense, shoot better. I thought I had to do all these physical things to excel, and yet I was overcome with anxiety and stress, especially as basketball got more and more competitive. That I was making all these mistakes on the court. I was, not playing at a high level consistently, and it took me to university to recognize that, okay, now I know what he was talking about, but he never explained it. And so that's what I help a lot of men with is let's really look at what's going on. Um, what are those thoughts that are going on? What are you saying to yourself? What are you believing that's not true?
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially a three-step process based on my book, Engage, Connect, Grow. So the engage component is really awareness or an awakening. Let's just uh, let's wake up and engage as to what's really going on here, and let's also as a coach, I do bring in the past a bit. I know a lot of coaches don't, but I think it's good to look at past behaviors, past beliefs, past experiences, and we're not going to sit in them and dwell on them, but we're going to look at, oh, there's a pattern here, in my family system. uh, this is how people deal with stress. They don't talk about it. Maybe they drink. Maybe they just focus on their work and go deep into their work. Like there's a pattern historically in the family. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, that could be a reason why I am the way I am. And now let's look at who I want to be. And so let's then look at the future and connect the connection pieces, connecting to self, and also connecting to others through journaling, through taking care of yourself, self-care, uh, and then the growing pieces. Where do you want to get to? How do you want to be in the world? And what steps can you take? And looking at simple steps that people can take. They may have a big goal. Maybe they want to be like I wanted to write a book. I wanted to coach people. I wanted to have my own business. So let's take that big vision that you have and let's bring it down to some simple things that you can start to do to get there. Yeah.
What was the second and third? Engage,
Connect, grow.
grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So the connection piece is so huge. It's connecting to those feelings, which a lot of men don't want to go there, but it's
Right.
amazing. It's amazing what happens when you get more aware of what you're feeling, and doing it, especially anger, doing it in a safe way. Which it could be just journaling out those thoughts that are coming up when you're angry. It could be, it could be yelling and screaming into a pillow,
Mhm.
but doing it in a way it's not going to harm yourself, uh, but it's going to get that anger out, and then to recognize, okay, what are the feelings that are coming up after that? And then the growth is really, yeah, is tapping into those steps in the way that you can grow and continually grow, because that's what I found is I go to therapy, I get help, and I'd be feeling great. Okay, this is awesome. I'm back. I feel like myself. Uh, and then I'd stop doing all the things. I'd stop focusing on my sleep. I'd stop um, drinking more water. I'd stop eating healthy. And then I'd find myself 6, 8 months later back in the same place, because I wasn't, yeah, and I wasn't exercising as well, right? And it's so important from that mental health perspective that you, you're working on those mental thoughts and the feelings in that, but you're also taking care of yourself physically,
Mhm.
and eating well too, right?
Right. What what was the biggest change happened in your life when you had those light bulbs times, aha moments, and started investing in your self growth? What changed in your life?
There's a workshop that I did, and that was and it was actually called The Awakening, and I totally woke up after that workshop, because I was absolutely afraid of going to a workshop for many years. I would read all the self-help books, personal growth books, and I do the exercises on my own.
Mhm.
And some of them I'd bring to therapy and that, but I would just kind of have it in this compartmentalized kind of space. But when I took that step to go to a workshop and start to, hearing from other people and this is more of an experiential type of workshop where you do exercises, that just, it, it reminded me of when I was a kid, and I just, I felt like myself again. And I was proud of myself for taking those steps, even though it was uncomfortable. But I just felt this love in my heart. I felt this um, compassion towards myself, and my goal became more around self-love and focus on self-love than trying to earn more money or get the things that are outside of me. Uh, and there's a quote by Carl Jung that really speaks to that. It's, you know, those who look outside dream, and those who look inside awaken. And that's really what happened to me at that workshop. I started to look inside, and
Yeah.
that dark cloud started to just, you know, go away, and the sun came out, right? Nice and bright. Yeah.
That is very true. And I think the biggest investment we can do is to look inside and self-care, self improvement, and supporting others too. I mean, when you that's what you're doing, that's what I am doing. When you went through something and learned something, and then you want to share it with people because you see that how valuable and amazing that you can change, and then you want to share it because you're overloaded with all the information and magic happened to you, and now you're helping others. So you mentioned a couple of things, but when I asked you, when somebody is listening to us right now and going through some hard time, what would be the first step for them to take? What would you suggest?
I I recommend journaling and just start to write out, especially
Mhm.
if you got a lot of swirling negative thoughts or things that are worrying you. Just start to write it down, and if you know, if you don't want anybody else to see it, you can just always rip it up. Or if you, I recommend doing it with pen and paper if you can, but it can still work on a computer. But you can always delete that document or rip it up. But just
Right.
start getting those thoughts out, and noticing what happens when you do that. And it can just be a simple 5 minutes, just starting to, whatever is going on in your head, just write it out. And it could be really positive things too. Like, it's not about negative and positive. It's just like whatever you're experiencing right now, this is the reality for you. Write that
Mhm.
out. And then I think, you know, there's all these recommendations around. Okay, you got to get enough sleep. You got to get enough water. You got to exercise. Pick one. Like, you know, pick one thing, and maybe the journaling is the one thing, but just pick one thing and work on that for the next week. And because it can get overwhelming, especially if you're in that kind of stuck state that, oh, I got to do all these things. and and you know, look at all these people online. They're doing everything. They got it all figured out. Where you just got to start somewhere and start small,
Mhm.
and don't do it alone. Like, look for help. And sometimes even people in your family or your friends, they're not open to doing this work. So you want to find a community or someone that you can work with that is open to just being there and with no judgment,
Mhm.
and can just be there as a way to hold you accountable and support you.
So valuable what you shared. And especially I want to acknowledge what you shared, like because on online platforms you see like everybody has everything figured out. Most of the case, nobody does. It's
Exactly.
how it looks. Nobody does. Everybody has their, shitty days or best days. So if you're just starting out, that's a great tip. Just pick one good habit, one healthy habit for you, for your mind, body, or soul. And journaling is great. I have been journaling since I was a little girl. I didn't know it was very valuable for me back then. I was just doing for fun because it was popular. But now I see I do it intentionally because it really helps to clear your thoughts and get it out there, positive and negative. Like you said, it doesn't matter what comes to your mind. And some days you write a lot, some days you write just a couple sentences. It's okay. Just do something. And like Aaron said, just pick one good thing, start doing for a week and or 2 weeks, and then maybe add another thing. Add maybe water additional to journaling, and then
Yeah,
maybe you can add exercising once a week. Don't try to do everything all at once. It's overwhelming. Yes, even for like
exactly.
a happy person, happy okay person, it's a lot for that person. And imagine who is already going through a lot, who is stuck. It's a lot. So You already mentioned a lot of great things, but if you share one sentence, one legacy sentence from Aaron Solly with our audience, what would you say?
You're okay. At the end of the day, you are absolutely okay where you're at. As tough as it may be right now, or as amazing it may be, wherever you're at, uh, you're okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Mm,
Thank you. And
yeah.
last but not least, I want you to share how people can reach out to you. Men's out there who are listening us, how they can reach out to you. And I also know that you are an Amazon best-selling author. Also, share your book name, and I will put all the links below the show. Share how people can reach out to you, and if you have any upcoming events or offers to share.
Yeah, a great way to start is I created a free resource, three keys to thrive in your personal, professional, and family life. That when you subscribe to that, that resource, you also get access to a master class that I recorded, and you just go to engagecoachinggroup.com/mastery, and I can send you the link as well for the to have. But if you go there, you can download that resource, and that's a great place to start.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you,
Yeah.
Aaron. We didn't do the cheers at the beginning, so let's do the cheers now with the
Okay,
water.
cheers.
Talk
Look at the
about
water.
water.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you
Cheers.
so much for being
Yeah.
here. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Thanks everyone who tuned in today. Have a great one.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and now you can apply it to your life. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the Coffee O'Clock podcast on Apple and leave us a review. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you feel like someone needs to listen to this episode, share it on your social media or text the link to that person to make an impact in their life. Be sure to tune in every Monday for new episodes. You can also watch the episodes and find more inspiration on my Instagram, which is at JOYYBURCU. Until next time, make sure to spend some time with you and stay with joy.